Hello everybody, I am going to show you tonight how to use the Sketches app. I'm going to start a new sketch. So you just tap on a white page. You can go in on this app and you can change the type of paper that you use. For my purposes, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tap on that page and I'm going to create, I'm going to change, and I want this to be on watercolor paper. So I'm going to change it to a watercolor green. You can see you've got a few options in the free version. You can also fill with color as well, but I'm just going to leave mine white and make it watercolor paper. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create kind of an impressionist style painting over the top of a photograph that I took a couple weeks ago of my son at the lake fishing, one of his favorite things to do. So up at the top center there are 3 little dots. If you tap on those dots, it will take you to a pull-down menu screen that has a settings, gear, a question mark, a download, an upload, and a camera. If you click on the or tap on the download button, it will take you to a choice of your camera, your photo, or your files. I'm going to go ahead and select photo. And inside my camera roll, there are the pictures of my son on the dock fishing. So what I want to do from there, I'm not sure why my app just closed on me. What I want to do from there is create a painting. Let me get that picture back up here. Okay, so I've got my picture. I am going to maybe center it a little bit more, zoom it in a little bit to get out some of the background. And this is what I'm going to start with. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take, and you can use all the different tools along the side down to the blending tool. The blending tool is the last one that's in the free version that you can use. The ruler and the X-Acto knife are part of the paid app version, but all the other tools are available to you, which I found really nice. So I'm going to do most of this with the paintbrush. I want to do a watercolor look, and I'm going to start just by covering the water with my watercolor. And down here in the bottom right corner, you can see this white square. This is where you select your color. And the nice thing about this app that I found was that you get a lot of choices for color just off the bat. Now, obviously, you're going to want more colors for different things, and they're pretty simple to find, but you can also add more colors just to your bar right here. So that's kind of a nice feature of this app. I'm going to go ahead with this darker kind of periwinkle blue color, and also on the right-hand side in the upper right-hand corner, there is a layer icon, and there's also this icon with the 2 lines and the sliders. That's going to be where you adjust your opacity of your color. So you're going to want it to be, I'm going to put mine at about 50%. I want it to cover, but I also want some of it to still show through until I blend it. And then also the size of your brush. Now, because I'm going to be covering the water, and that's a big part of my picture, I'm going to go ahead and make my brush size pretty big for this part. So once I've done that, I've chosen my color, I have my brush size, I have my opacity, then I'm just going to start coloring in over the top of the water. Now I can tell it's not really covering much, so I'm going to go ahead and increase my opacity a little bit. There, that's better. And I'm going to go over all the areas of the water that I want to cover. And I'm not going to worry too much about going around these boats because I'm actually going to take those right out of the picture. So I'm not going to worry about the little bars and stuff too much in the boats. And I'm actually not going to worry too much about getting it all nice and even and all that. Okay. So I'm going to make my brush size a little bit smaller to get in between here and around his head and shoulders. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to take another color blue That's a little bit darker. I don't want to go quite the next step down. So I'm just going to long press that color that I was just using, and it brings up this palette here for you to, and you can move this around and use any color that you want within that range. So I'm going to go a little bit darker. I'm going to click add. That's going to add it to my palette here on the side when I tap on it. And I'm just going to go over and I'm going to put some dark areas in my water. And I'm going to try to mimic some of the dark spaces that are in that water underneath in the photograph. Okay. I'm going to go in with an even deeper, darker blue. This time I'm going to add that one. I'm going to take and bring my pen size down even smaller and put some dark, really dark spots in my water. Okay. Now at this point, I haven't put any highlights in yet. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to choose this really light sky blue. And I'm going to start putting just a few of those in across the water. And then once I have that done, let me go back here, back to that original blue and try to get a little bit closer to his head. Okay. What I'm going to do then is, now that I've got the water done and I'm just showing you how I did this, I'm going to take my blender tool. This is a really fun tool to play with. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to take away all those harsh lines and it's going to blend all this together so that it looks a little bit more like natural water. So I just rub over the top with this blender tool selected, and it kind of starts to blend those colors together. Okay, so I'm going to work on that for a few minutes and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I did some of how I use some of the other tools and use some of the other techniques to get to the completed project.